The phone rang at 4 in the morning and I knew before I even answered that everything I had built in the last 3 years was about to shatter. Alina's voice came through broken and urgent, the woman who had once been my entire world, begging me to help her escape the forced wedding her family had arranged for dawn that same day. "Raylan, please, they have the ceremony set up in the garden. The guests are already arriving. I cannot marry him. You are the only person who ever truly saw me." I sat up in my small Capitol Hill apartment, the city outside still wrapped in pre-dawn darkness, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. Elena Vasquez, from one of Seattle's most prominent Vietnamese-American business families, was being pushed into this marriage to seal a merger that would save her father's import company from collapse. Her parents had discovered our relationship back in college and had given her an ultimatum that ripped us apart. She had chosen family duty over us, then leaving me to rebuild alone. Now she was reaching out in panic, and despite the anger the nights I had spent questioning every choice I made, I could not turn her away. I pulled on jeans and a hoodie, grabbed my keys, and headed out into the cool, misty air, already calculating the risks. Helping her could be seen as interference or worse in the eyes of the law, but letting her walk into a life she hated felt like the real crime. The drive to the estate in Medina took nearly an hour, the empty highways giving me too much time to think. Memories flooded in, the way we met at a campus event, her shy smile, the secret dates in hidden parks, the promises we whispered about building a life free from judgment. Her family saw our love as a phase, a stain on their traditional values, a threat to their reputation in the tight-knit community, where appearances mattered more than happiness. Her mother had once told her that being with a woman would destroy everything they had sacrificed to build in America. Her father had threatened to cut her off completely, send her back to relatives in Vietnam, if she did not conform. I understood the pressure because I had watched it break her, but I also knew the cost of hiding who you are. My own family was more accepting, but even they worried about the prejudice I faced every day as a social worker, dealing with clients who sometimes looked at me differently once they learned the truth. As I parked a safe distance from the sprawling property, the sky began to lighten to a soft gray, and I waited for her signal, my hands gripping the steering wheel, until my knuckles turned white. Elena slipped out the side gate right on time, her face pale, her dark hair pulled back hastily, her body tense in simple clothes that hid the elaborate wedding dress waiting inside. We did not speak at first, just ran to my car, the dew-soaked grass soaking our shoes. When she slid into the passenger seat and our eyes met, the years melted away in a rush of old feelings. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice cracking with relief. "I did not know who else to call. They have security everywhere, but this gate is unguarded at dawn." I started the engine and pulled away slowly at first, then faster as the mansion faded in the rearview mirror. The first rays of sun broke over Lake Washington, painting the world in gold, but my stomach twisted with dread. Sirens wailed in the distance, maybe unrelated, maybe not. We drove north toward the mountains, the radio silent, the air thick with unspoken questions. As the miles passed, Elena told me the full story. Her parents had arranged the marriage months ago, introducing her to Marcus, the son of their business partner, as if love could be negotiated like a contract. She had gone along with the planning, smiling for photos while dying inside, because refusing would mean losing her sister Sophia, her mother, her entire support system. The family viewed her pass with me as a mistake to be erased, a secret that could ruin the merger if it leaked. I listened, my grip tight on the wheel, wondering if I was making the same mistake again by getting involved. What if her family blamed me completely? What if this turned into a legal nightmare? But when she reached over and squeezed my hand, the warmth of it reminded me why I had come. Some choices are not about being right, they are about being human. We reached a remote cabin I had borrowed from a trusted friend, just as the sun climbed higher, the forest around us quiet and protective. We stepped inside the wooden walls, offering a temporary shelter. But I knew the real storm was only beginning. The price for this dawn escape would come due soon, and I wondered if either of us was ready to pay it. The cabin smelled of pine and old wood, a safe haven tucked in the foothills near Snoqualmie, but the peace felt fragile as we locked the door behind us. Elena sank onto the worn couch, her shoulders finally relaxing for the first time since I had picked her up, her eyes still darting to the windows, as if expecting headlights to appear any second. I made coffee in the small kitchen, the simple act grounding me while my mind raced with the decisions that lay ahead. We had to stay hidden, at least until we figured out how to handle her family, the police report that was surely being filed right now, the media that could turn this into a scandal. Helping her escape had been the easy part, the hard part was living with what came next. She started talking as the coffee steamed between us, her voice low and full of guilt. My mother called me last night before I reached out to you. She said the merger is hanging by a thread, and this marriage is the only way to keep the business afloat. They see me as the key to everything they sacrificed coming to America for. When they found those old messages from us, they sat me down and listed every way my choices had shamed them: the neighbors, the church group, the business partners. I tried to explain that loving you was not a choice, it was who I am. But they called it confusion, a phase that needed fixing. I nodded, remembering the night she had ended things 3 years ago, her tears, the way she had said she could not lose her family. I had begged her to choose us, but the fear in her eyes had been too deep. Now here she was running, and I was the one who had driven the getaway car, wondering if I was repeating the same cycle of hope and heartbreak. My phone buzzed with a call from my mother back in Portland, her voice sharp with worry. "Raylan, what have you done? Her family is already posting on social media calling for help finding their daughter. They are painting you as the one who manipulated her." I tried to explain, but she cut me off, reminding me of my own job at the community center. How clients trusted me, how one wrong move could cost me everything. The conversation left me shaken because she was right. The prejudice was real in our circles, where being open about love like ours still drew stares and whispers. Elena overheard, and her face crumpled with fresh guilt. "I never wanted to drag you into this," she said, "but you were the only one who ever made me feel seen, not as the perfect daughter, but as me." We talked for hours, the conversation circling around the moral weight of my choice. Was it right to help her break free from a marriage she never wanted? Or was I interfering in a family dynamic I could never fully understand? The cultural pressures on her were different from mine, her parents carrying the weight of immigrant dreams, the fear that any deviation would erase the progress they had made. As the day wore on, we heard news on the radio: a missing person alert for Elena Vasquez with hints of foul play. My heart sank. We moved to a different room, the cabin suddenly feeling too exposed. Elena shared more: the way her father had threatened to disown her completely if she backed out, the way her mother had cried about lost face in the community. I held her hand across the table, the touch a reminder of the bond that had never really broken. But I also felt the price starting to mount: my own family pulling away, my job likely under scrutiny now. That evening, as rain started to fall on the roof, we sat in silence, the tension building. Elena looked at me with eyes full of love and fear and whispered that she was sorry for the pain she had caused before. I told her we could not change the past, but we could face the future together. The words felt brave, but deep down I knew the real confrontation was coming, and the decisions we made now would determine how much we both lost. By the third day in the cabin, the walls started to close in, the quiet forest outside no longer a refuge but a reminder that the world was searching for us. Elena paced the small living room, her phone turned off, but the news alerts on my laptop painting a picture of chaos. Her family had gone public with a statement calling her disappearance suspicious and pointing fingers at past influences. My name had not been mentioned yet, but I knew it was only a matter of time, the prejudice against our kind of love making me the perfect scapegoat in their eyes. I had made the decision to help her, and now I had to live with the fallout, watching her guilt grow with every headline. A knock at the door sent us both freezing, but it was only Sophia's voice, Elena's younger sister, who had tracked us through a shared location app before Elena turned everything off. We let her in, the tension thick as she hugged her sister, tears streaming. "You have to come back," Sophia pleaded, her eyes flicking to me with a mix of anger and understanding. "Mom is falling apart. Dad is talking to lawyers. The business partners are pulling out. They think Raylan forced you into this because of your history." Elena shook her head, explaining again the forced nature of the marriage, the way it felt like a cage. Sophia listened, torn between loyalty to family and the truth she had witnessed growing up, the subtle ways their parents had tried to erase any hint of Elena's true self. The confrontation stretched for hours, voices rising then falling as we laid out the moral complexities. Was family duty more important than personal happiness, or was running the only way to break a cycle of control that had lasted generations? Sophia left with a promise to keep our location secret, but the betrayal came hours later when a news report mentioned a tip leading authorities closer. We packed quickly, the decision to flee again heavy on my shoulders. I chose a route through smaller roads toward Portland, the drive filled with raw talk about the societal pressures that had shaped us both. Elena spoke of the homophobia in her community, the way friends had distanced themselves after the family discovery, the way church sermons had made her feel broken. I shared my own experiences, clients who had pulled away when they learned about my life, the quiet judgments at work. The drive became a rolling therapy session, every mile forcing us to confront the cost of my choice. My job was already on thin ice. My friends divided, some supporting me, others warning that I was enabling a family drama that did not belong to me. We stopped at a motel on the outskirts, the neon sign flickering like a warning. There in the dim room, Elena broke down, admitting the full pressure had included threats to her career in marketing. The family business was her only path. I held her as she cried, the embrace filled with the kind of emotional closeness that had always defined us. But the inner conflict raged inside me. By helping her, I had potentially destroyed her family ties and my own stability. The next morning, police cruisers passed the motel, too close for comfort, forcing us to move again. The tension was rising, the decisions stacking like dominoes, each one carrying heavier consequences. I wondered if the love that had pulled me into this was strong enough to survive the storm, or if I was just prolonging the pain for both of us. The betrayal hit like a slap when we learned Sophia had not kept her promise. Her call to the family had been traced, and now the authorities were actively searching for me by name. We were in a small Portland safe house borrowed from an old college friend, the walls thin, the air thick with the weight of what my decision to help had unleashed. Elena sat across from me, her hands shaking as she read the latest update. Her family accusing me of manipulation based on our past relationship, the media latching onto the angle of a secret lesbian affair disrupting a prominent wedding. I had known the risk, but seeing it play out made the moral dilemma sharper. Was I a savior giving her the freedom she deserved, or was I the villain tearing apart a family already strained by cultural expectations? We argued for the first time since the escape, voices low but intense. Elena accused me of pushing too hard back in college, wanting openness when she was not ready. I countered that hiding had only made the pressure worse, the family using her fear against her. The confrontation laid bare the old wounds, the way her choice to leave me had felt like rejection, the way my insistence on honesty had felt like pressure. In the end, we both admitted the truth. Our love had been real, but the world around us had never made room for it. I made the call to my lawyer friend Jordan, a sharp woman who had faced similar battles, the conversation confirming the worst. They were preparing charges of interference and possible kidnapping claims despite Elena being an adult. The decision to stay and face it rather than run further felt like the only honorable path, but it came with a price I was not sure I could pay. That night, as rain pounded the roof, Elena revealed more details. The merger was not just business, it was tied to debts. Her father had hidden the marriage, a desperate move to keep the family afloat. I listened, the information shifting my view but not erasing the doubt. When sirens approached the house, we slipped out the back, the close call forcing us to separate temporarily, I heading to a different location to draw attention away from her. The hours alone were torture, my mind replaying every choice, the family pressure. I had underestimated the societal backlash that labeled women like us as threats. Jordan met me at a coffee shop, her advice clear: turn yourself in and let Elena speak for herself, but I knew that would expose everything she had tried to protect. Instead, I chose to take more blame, claiming in a statement that I had planned the escape alone to shield her from further family wrath. The arrest came at dawn, officers cuffing me outside the safe house, the flash of cameras capturing the moment that would change my life. As they read the charges, my mind went to Elena, the woman I had risked everything for, and the inner voice asking if this sacrifice was worth the pain it would cause. The ride to the station was silent, but inside I was screaming with the weight of the decisions that had led here, the love that had started it all, the prejudice that would decide how it ended. The holding cell smelled of bleach and regret, the hours before my first court appearance stretching like an eternity as I replayed every moment of the escape. Elena had been located and returned to her family, but she had refused to press charges, her statement supporting my version that she had asked for help. Still, her parents pushed forward with the case, their lawyers painting me as the corrupting influence, the one who had preyed on their daughter's vulnerability due to our shared past. The prejudice was blatant in the courtroom, the judge listening as they described our relationship as a dangerous phase that had led to this disruption. My lawyer Jordan fought hard, but the social media storm outside the courthouse showed how divided the public was, some calling me a hero for stopping a forced marriage, others labeling me a homewrecker who had destroyed a family for personal gain. Elena visited me once in the visitation room, her eyes red from crying, the guard watching closely. She told me about the pressure at home, her mother barely speaking to her, her father demanding she testify against me to save the merger. I saw the toll on her, the guilt eating her alive, the way she questioned if running had been selfish. I reassured her that the choice had been hers, but deep down I wondered the same about my role. The pretrial hearings dragged on, each one chipping away at my stability. My job at the community center had suspended me. My own family divided. My mother visiting with worry etched on her face, reminding me of the cost to my reputation in a world that still struggled with women loving women openly. The inner conflict peaked during long nights in holding the moral questions circling: was I right to interfere in a cultural dynamic I only partially understood, or had my actions only made things worse for Elena by exposing her secrets? Jordan brought updates. The case hinged on whether my involvement constituted coercion, the family claiming I had used our past to manipulate her. I prepared my testimony carefully, choosing not to out the full depth of our love to protect Elena from more shame. The decision felt like another sacrifice, the price mounting with every lost connection, every judgmental look from former colleagues. Elena sent a letter through Jordan expressing her awakening, the way the escape had forced her to confront the lies she had lived with, the strength she had found in choosing herself. Reading it gave me hope, but the reality of the trial loomed, the possibility of prison time or probation hanging over me like a shadow. As the final pretrial hearing ended, I sat in the courtroom, the weight of the last weeks crushing me, the betrayals, the confrontations, the emotional toll, all leading to this moment, where my freedom hung in the balance. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with tension as the trial reached its climax, my hands steady on the witness stand despite the storm inside. Elena's family sat in the front row, her mother's eyes cold, her father's jaw set, the business partners watching like hawks. Elena testified first, her voice strong as she described the forced nature of the marriage, the threats, the emotional blackmail that had made her reach out to me. She did not hide the past, but she framed it as love, not manipulation, the way our relationship had shown her a different path when her family had tried to erase. The defense highlighted the cultural pressures, the immigrant story twisted into justification for control, the prosecutor pushing back with questions about my role, the decisions I had made to help her flee. I took the stand next, laying out the timeline, the dawn escape, the moral conflict that had kept me awake, the realization that some bonds are worth fighting for even when society and family say otherwise. The betrayals came out in cross-examination, Sophia admitting she had wavered under family pressure but ultimately supported her sister, the revelations about the business debts showing the marriage as a financial calculation, not a love match. The judge listened, the room silent as I spoke of the price I had paid, the job lost, the family rifts, the public scrutiny that had forced me to question everything. Elena sat nearby, her eyes meeting mine with a mix of gratitude and sorrow, the romantic tension still there in the glances, the shared history binding us even now. The verdict came after hours of deliberation, not guilty on the major charges, but with a stern warning about interference, the judge acknowledging the complexities of consent and family dynamics in modern America. I walked out free but changed, the cost etched into every part of me, the awakening that love sometimes demands everything and gives back in unexpected ways. Elena met me outside the courthouse, the misty Seattle air cool on our skin, her family watching from a distance but not approaching. We embraced the moment, quiet and full of the emotions we had carried through every confrontation, every sacrifice. She had chosen to move out on her own, starting fresh away from the merger, the pressure, her sister standing by her side. I had lost pieces of my old life but gained a clearer sense of what mattered, the strength to stand for what is right even when the world disagrees. As we walked away together, the sun breaking through the clouds, I looked back at the courthouse, the symbol of the battle we had fought. In the end, when love clashes with duty and society demands conformity, was I right to risk everything to help the woman who once left me, or did my sacrifice only prove that some choices leave scars that never fully heal? And would you have done the same?